Oh my gosh, guys, here we are. Oh man, I've got a little bit of goosebumps here. This is going to be an exciting live stream. We've got nearly 200 people already on the live stream right now, and really excited for what we're going to do here today. First thing I'm super excited about, by the way, I'm Terrence, Neptune Systems, Let's Talk Reef. Hopefully a bunch of you guys have been here before. Those of you that haven't come to Let's Talk Reef, it's every other Tuesday. And it's definitely something you want to come and join us for. This week is absolutely spectacularly special. Man, I'm excited. First thing I'm excited about, new studio, right? Last one that I did with Chris Meckley from ACI, we were in the room but didn't have it quite set up yet. Now I'm probably 80% of the way I want to get there. We've got some cool stuff behind me. I don't know, maybe you guys in the comments can chime in on what you see behind me, but there's some neat vintage Neptune Systems gear on the back wall, as well as some of our latest stuff. Again, really super excited. But what you really have come here for, and you probably have already guessed if you came in a little bit early and saw the opener, let's just move right to that, and then we're going to chat some more. Oh my goodness. Whew. I don't know about you, but now I've got goosebumps on my goosebumps after seeing that video. And I know many of you guys out there, because I see it in some of the comments, some of the joking things about coming December 2019 from Dan Sheets out there. Look, all of that ribbing is good, and really what we did was we completely embraced it. Before I go on, the first thing I want to do though is I want to express incredible appreciation for the company that I work for this particular project, and all the people who within the company. There wasn't a single person within our company that didn't have a hand in making this thing a reality. And that goes from every department, from engineering to operations to finance to packaging to warehouse to all the people that are putting these things together out there and testing them, to the quality assurance people, sales people that are out there, the marketing people. Everybody in the company had a hand in this to make it great. And we're here, and I think some of you guys obviously already guessed that. So I wanted to say that first of all. Second thing I wanted to say was I wanted to thank all of the NSI team who had this product for a few months, who have been running through the product. I know a lot of people out there think that we put the kibosh on everything that they could say about it, but you're going to find out very quickly how much they love it, and they're completely released from the NDA as of right now, so they can go out and post all their experiences, and we're good with that. And I want to thank each and every one of them for putting the time in to running the Trident over the last few months and giving us the feedback we need to make this a great product for all of you. So again, what does this all mean? Well, the first thing is that you gotta believe, okay? So collectively, okay, let's all just believe in the Trident unicorn for a little bit. I can feel it. I can feel it. Guess what? Let's go right here to the computer and get going on this. Whew, I am really, I don't know. This is something. December 2019? I don't think so. How about midnight tonight? Those of you who've been waiting, it's midnight tonight. The Trident will be available at your store, at your online store, some local fish stores. You'll be able to go out and get the Trident tonight at midnight Pacific Daylight Time. That's 3 a.m. for you guys on the East Coast. And you know, for now, it is only available in the U.S. and Canada. Hopefully, our international guys will get this very soon, maybe in a few months. But for now, U.S. and Canada, midnight tonight. You know, have your computer ready, have the refresh button ready. Maybe you need to go, I don't know, camp out down at your local fish store right now and say you're the one that should be worthy for one of these Tridents. It's definitely something we're super excited about. We've been trying to keep it under wraps. Some of you guys are just too smart. You've been trying to figure it out day in and day out. And we've done the best we can to keep it under wraps. We hope there's some surprise to this. And now I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of things about the Trident right now. One of the first things to understand is that rather than build up a stock, roll out a whole bunch of them, and then have a period of time where there won't be any, we're going to have a scheduled, managed rollout of this product, which means there'll be some available right now, and then the stores will continually be given inventory as we go to meet the demand as best we can, but I'm sure it is not going to completely meet the incredible demand we've had for this product. So for those of you who aren't going to get one tonight, hopefully very soon in the next days and weeks, you'll be able to get your hands on one. Okay, so let's go through some of everything I'm going to talk about the Trident. Now that you know it's going to be out, the first thing that I want to tell you guys is the first Trident that came off the assembly line, we were actually at a trade show in Denver, Colorado back in March. And we had this idea to give away the first Trident off the assembly line and do a raffle for it and have the proceeds of the raffle go to the Coral Restoration Foundation. We received about $700 to $800 and we matched that, sent a check for $1,500 to the Coral Restoration Foundation. And it's pretty awesome because Kenneth Pacheco was the guy who won the first Trident off the assembly line. And not only is it the first one off the assembly line, but it's personally signed by the founder and president of Neptune Systems, Kurt Pansgrow. So let's see if we've got, this is actually Kurt signing the front of that particular Trident for Ken Pacheco. Really cool stuff here. He has got a one-of-a-kind item there. Let me get back to, see if I can get to the picture. Sorry, a little lag here. There we go. Still lagging. Okay. I got to get rid of the Ken picture. That was, I guess, a big high-definition screenshot of Kurt that I had there. So it's kind of lagging and catching up. Sorry, guys. Now it'll work. So there's the signature from Kurt on the front of that Trident. That's a one-of-a-kind item. I don't know. Maybe that's going to end up on eBay in a few years. Maybe a few $1,000s. Who knows? But definitely really, really cool. Okay, so let's start talking about all things Trident. First of all, what do we have in the box here? You see a bunch of things in front of me. I kind of want to give you guys an idea of what comes in the box and some of the high-level things with the Trident. After I do that, then Paul's going to come in for Paul's Tech Corner, and we're going to actually dig into the software and see how this runs and answer some more of your questions. Okay, I'm looking at your questions right now. Oh, geez, all sorts of good stuff. Boy, so many. We got almost 300 people here in this live stream. Anyway, here is the Trident. Some have said it's big, some have said it's small. For those of you that don't know, it measures your alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium on a scheduled basis throughout the day. It is 10 inches high by 12 inches deep by 4¼ inches across the front. Inside, it holds all of your reagents. This one does not have the reagents loaded in it yet. It is a brand new unit. On the back, you can see here, there really is not much to do other than plug in your waste line, your sample line from your aquarium, and a 1-link cable. If you don't have a 1-link port, you can actually use a power supply and a USB. These are the tubes that happen to come with the Trident. Strangely enough, the black tube, you'd think this would be the waste tube. No, this is actually the sample line tube. And it's black because that way no algae can build up on the inside of this tube. That's something that we thought of. The tubes are 5 feet long. They cannot be extended. They can't be cut. However, the waste tube, which is the clear tube, can be stuck into another tube that you can then send to your waste container, or you could obviously send it to a drain. Okay, let's talk about some of the other stuff that comes with it. We also have this really neat little clip that your sample line tube, again the black one, clips into that, and it goes into your aquarium so that it goes into the water and it doesn't dangle around into the bottom or pick up detritus or anything like that. Then you get a 1-link cable, and what's really neat about this is it is 1-link. So most people who have the new Apex, it's not as new anymore, or the Apex EL that you see behind me, their Energy Bar 832s have a 1-link connection that you connect this one cable into. If for some reason all of your 1-link connections are occupied, there's a couple of things you can do. You can get another Energy Bar 832. I kind of like that. You could get a 1-link module. You could get an Aquabus cable and a power supply and plug it in. And the last option, which is kind of neat, many of you out there who have the dose have already purchased a 1-link cable, and maybe you have all 3 of your 1-link connections occupied with your dose and with maybe a couple of wave pumps. Well, your dose came with a power supply and an Aquabus cable that you're probably not using, and you could use that for the Trident. So that's a really neat thing too that you could do. Now, also that comes with your Trident is what we call 1 month's supply of reagent. Now, the 1 month supply of reagent that we give you is the same exact bottle size and the same exact amount filled in those bottles as a 2-month supply. So why do we do that? Well, when you set up the Trident, there are processes that you go through. There's a calibration step. And you may not get exactly 2 months out of it. So we didn't want to say that you got a 2-month supply and you actually get, say, 56 days. So it says 1 month on the box, but you get the exact same thing that you get in the 2-month kit. Now, the way that the reagents work, and these are kind of out of order, is for 2 months, you will need 2 of the reagent A, 1 of the reagent B, and 1 of the reagent C. And what you'll do is at the 1 month mark, and this is assuming that you're using a default testing schedule, what you will do is you'll change out at 1 month, you'll change out this one, and then at the end of 2 months, you'll change out all 3. So that's why it becomes 2 months. Now, if you ran this at double the frequency, say 8 times a day for alkalinity, 4 times a day for calcium, and 4 times a day for magnesium, well, then this kit would only last for 1 month. Also that comes in the box, I'm going to make sure I'm not missing something here for you guys. Oh, we got one more thing, is the calibration solution. So this is something that right when you set it up, we don't recommend you do this because the Trident kind of has to break in for a couple of days. But after a couple of days, you can pull out this calibration solution. Once you open it, you have to use it at that moment. So, don't get this when you get the Trident home, open it up to smell it or something like that, and then close it back up. You have to wait until you're about to do the calibration to open it up and run the calibration step. On the front of this label here, like this one, it has a lot number, and it has the DKH of 8.4, the calcium of 425, and the magnesium of 1470. Now, we actually take great care on how we come up with this standard because there's a lot of steps that you have to go through in order that it's going to arrive to you and be the exact thing that we measured when we made it. So that does come with your new Trident, and it also comes in the replacement 2-month kit that you'll get. You will basically get all of this. And you saw at the end of the video, if you were watching the video with us, that 2-month kit costs $44.95. Okay, let's see. One of the things some people might be wondering is, how does the Trident work? Okay, what is it actually doing? Now, I'm not the engineering guy, as you guys all know. I'm the marketing guy. But in a broad sense, I'll explain to you what it does. The most common way that you can get very precise measurements on your aquarium of different parameters is by using a titration method. It's what scientists use. It's what you use in your Salifert kit or your Red Sea kit. And the Trident actually does exactly that. It's the exact same thing. It's doing a color titration of your water. The only difference is that it's automating it for you. It's automating putting the sample in. It's automating adding the various titrants into there, and then it's taking out all of that waste and putting it into the waste container. And it's doing that on an automated basis. Now, because it has a very precise peristaltic dosing pump in it, I mean, extremely precise, it's going to measure in a very repetitive, even way, much more so than you can do even with the hobby test kit. Same thing with the electronic eye in there that is, pretty much reading this color. It's able to discern the changes in that titration much better than you can with your own eye. And so that's pretty much, that's how it works. There's a lot of magic, obviously, in the software, things that I will never understand. But what I do understand is this thing has really changed my reef keeping, and I know for a lot of the NSI guys out there, that's definitely the case. So let's talk about a couple more things. Some of you might be wondering, how precise is the Trident? So there is a little difference between precision and accuracy. I won't get into a long discussion of it here. But the most important thing you're going to want to look at with anything that you're using as a test is how precise it is. How close it's going to come to the same mark over and over and over again. Okay? The precision of the Trident is 0.05 DKH, which is pretty incredible. You can test that water over and over and over again, and you're going to come within plus or minus 0.05 DKH. That is better than you can definitely do with the test kits that you have. Here's a good question. I just saw Jake Speed ask, can I run it less frequently than X times a day? Actually, you can run it more frequently. You can run it up to 24 times a day in alkalinity test, but you cannot run it less than 4 tests of alkalinity, 2 tests of magnesium, and 2 tests of calcium a day. There's some technical reasons for that in terms of to keep this. It's good talk to have too in terms of precision. That's part of keeping the precision of the device. There's water and there's reagent and other things going through the system all the time, and by having it have that test interval, it ensures us to be able to get this level of precision. So the precision on the calcium is 15 parts per million plus or minus, and magnesium plus or minus 15 parts per million. And we see, that's a really conservative value in terms of what we've seen. Let's see, any other questions here before I move on? Okay, there's a few. I can answer most of these a little bit later. Good ones from Felix and good ones from Drama D, some different questions, but I won't hit on them yet because maybe I'll answer them in the rest of this discussion. Okay, now, what is the number one reason for me that the Trident has been a big change? It's anxiety. The amount of anxiety that I have a pretty significant 400-gallon heavy SPS tank that uses probably, I would say, between 1 and 2 DKH of alkalinity in a day, probably closer to 2. That means if I'm not monitoring that quickly, in 24 hours, I can probably crash my SPS in my tank. So the ability for me to pull open my phone at any time and see that, or to get an alert, it gives me this peace of mind that I can't even explain to you. It is just so refreshing to know that, and to also know that I didn't have to go open up a test kit. And then the anxiety of knowing, did I run the test correctly? And having to run it 4 or 5 times sometimes to say, did I get it right? And run it an hour or 2 later. Did I get it right? Just opening your phone up and seeing that. Again, the NSI guys and you guys that will get these at launch here especially, I think this is something you're going to see very quickly that you can't believe how much anxiety it relieves from what you know on your aquarium. The next thing that's really interesting is you get a much better understanding of what's happening in your aquarium. And some of this is probably just little anecdotes. Maybe they matter, maybe they don't. For me, it makes me feel a lot closer to my aquarium because you could put new corals in the aquarium or clean the sand in your aquarium and see the results right there in your alkalinity. You can have a salinity issue in your tank and actually see it with your magnesium because your magnesium levels are so high that when your salinity is dropping off, you'll actually see that in your magnesium. So there's a lot of insight that you get in your aquarium that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. And the more you understand about your aquarium, the better you're going to be able to take care of it. At least for me, that's how it works for me. Now, one of the things that people are most concerned about with any product is how hard is it to set up. And I know there's a lot of different other testing solutions that have come along. Obviously, we've been doing this for a long time. You guys tease us about it, all the time. It's well deserved. We've worked really hard on this to make it great. But one of the things that we worked extremely hard across the board on was, how do we make this simple to set up, simple to install, and just a piece of cake to run? So all you do is go through, maybe 15 minutes of setup, and you're getting results out of your tank, 20 minutes after that. To that end, there was a great new setup routine that was put together by engineering and also by Paul that is completely innovative for this product in terms of integrating the entire setup into Apex Fusion, along with videos and whatnot. And we'll see a little bit of that with Paul and talk to Paul a little bit more about that. But I want to let you guys know that this is a natural progression for us with our products. Is every year we're making them easier to set up, easier to use, and allow you to have less hassle and more success with your aquarium. I mean, that's our slogan. Okay, what's up next? So I spoke briefly about the reagent already. I don't know that I need to cover much more on reagent. You'll probably do a lot more manual tests than you think you will. The reagent right now is only going to be sold through us directly while we're trying to figure out how to get it taken care of in the channel. It does require some handling to special handling. In other words, it can't be over like 100 degrees in the back of a tractor trailer. Also on top of that, we don't necessarily understand the demand at each and every one of the local fish stores. So we're going to try to get some Tridents out there first, and then we're going to backfill and start to authorize stores to be carrying this, and online stores, of course, to be carrying this. But it is available right away at launch directly from us to be sent out. Okay. Now I'm going to take a sip of water. It was a long bout without water. The next thing to talk about is the one thing that I think is just super cool. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail about it because I want to do it in conversation with Paul, but it's our automatic dosing control. And the automatic dosing control is something that early on we didn't know if we would be able to have this available at launch. And the engineering team was able to put it together and put something together that's pretty amazing to put your tank on autopilot, but at the same time have incredible safety. Things like cruise control on your car are great, but the cars that have the automatic braking that you're going to go into somebody else's car, well, that's even better, right? So the safety mechanisms that we've put into place with the automatic dosing control are pretty amazing and definitely ensure that you're not going to have a problem with a runaway. And we're going to get into that with Paul. But you have to have the dose. You can do other things with your Trident to give the information to the Apex to control, say, BRS dosers and whatnot. But this is a super advanced thing and not something I would generally recommend, because without having those safety stops, without having that special coating and whatnot in there, you could find yourself in one of those situations. Okay, So let me take a couple of questions here. I'm going to scroll up and down, see a couple of questions, and then we're going to pull Paul in here and get started right away in a long tech corner, because I'm going to have a lot of stuff to talk about, I think. Okay. Look at that. The videos are back up in the task. Yeah, we made them live. Look at that. Somebody's already out there looking at it. The price has already been stated at $599.95. Reagents are $44.95. Shipping inside the U.S. will start at $2.95. Okay. Paul, you can speak up. He's off camera. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. Oh, look at that. So one of the biggest questions we had was around, I should probably use this sheet here, right? Yeah. Okay, that's probably a good idea. Well, I got to questions first, and then it was after that, so I was actually right. Okay. So, but one of the questions that are here, that on this, wow, we've got 402 people. That's amazing. 402 people. One of the questions had to do with recommended service intervals or recommended service. The thing I can tell you guys about this is just about every device that you have on your aquarium has some sort of recommended service on it. This includes automatic testing systems in general that happen to be out there. And the Trident is no different in this respect. The Trident itself has a small number of parts that will need to be replaced. We're thinking it's going to be in the 18 to 24 month range. That's what it looks like at this point. We'll have a kit of those parts available. We don't have right now the price set, but it will be under $100. I don't know that it's going to be $99.95, so those of you that are going to laugh and write that comment right away, we're only committing to less than $100. It's definitely not our target. The thing is, though, is that the Trident is made to be super compact, and there's a lot of tubes and things inside there. And it's not easily user serviceable. Although we're going to provide that to people that want to try to do it themselves, we're going to recommend strongly that the Trident is sent in to us to do that regular service at 18 to 24 months recommended. Again, this is recommended. It's not required. But that is probably going to range between $150 and $200. And we'll have some sort of a hot swap type option available, an advanced replacement type option available. That's our plan right now. In the coming months, we'll reveal more of that as we figure out exactly what you guys want to see and understand what you want to do. But that's the facts straight up. 18 to 24 months, there's going to be some parts that are going to need replacing. There will be a kit available to you that'll be under $100, or you can send it into us between $150 and $200. So I hope that answers that particular question. Let's see, do I have any more questions before I bring Paul in here? Will BRS and Marine Depot have them for sale tonight? Yes, they will, and your local fish store in your area. Just about every market across the country, there are local fish stores that have Tridents that have been shipped to them already. And, assuming they haven't assigned them to somebody else, you can certainly call them and see if they have one. Okay. Will there be a limit to how much reagent us OCD people can buy? I always keep 4 to 6 bottles of reagent for my Hannah checkers. In the beginning, we are going to limit you to 2 sets, I believe, of 2 months of reagents in your order. And that's just so we don't have a hoarding situation going on. We have a certain amount allotted that will be available, obviously, as we're stocking them up. And we don't want a couple of people, that maybe they do have OCD that are going to put 20 boxes in their closet. Also, these do have an expiration. So the expiration on them, I believe, is a year. Off the top of my head, if I'm thinking about it. Oh, and somebody else also asked, what is the warranty? The warranty is 12 months, like other Neptune products. Let's see. I'm going to try to take one more question here. How much time can you be without reagent in case of shortage of liquids? We're going to cover that, I think, in the in the tech corner with Paul. We're going to talk about shutdown there. Okay. I think that's about it for questions right now. Let's roll into tech corner with Paul. How about that? Paul, welcome to the new studio, man.
Hey, Terrence, how's it going?
What do you think? We're on opposite sides now. You notice that?
No, I hadn't noticed. Of course I noticed. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I wanted a little easier access to the keyboard over here because I am right-handed, and I noticed in all my videos I was doing this the whole time, and it kind of looked a little weird. So now I'm the maestro from over here.
It works for me, you know.
So Paul, I want to have some celebration drink, okay, to celebrate this moment, okay. But I want it to be non-alcoholic. It is, I guess it is 5, but it's a little early, right?
Yeah.
So if I was going to have a non-alcoholic celebration drink for the Trident, what color would it be?
Oh, it'd be purple.
Purple?
Or orange.
Orange. Okay, let's see what we got here. Dun dun dun. Orange cream soda. Look at this.
What a surprise.
Surprise. You didn't even know this, did you?
No, he got me again, guys. He got me again.
So we're going to toast a little Trident action here in Paul's Tech Corner with a little orange cream soda.
That was a
That is sweet, man.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That is sweet.
Wow, that just sends you off, man, with the sweetness off of that. So are you ready to do this, Paul?
I am ready, Terrence. I'm ready to show our customers a little bit about the Trident, how it's going to operate for you on your everyday experience. I got to tip my hat to engineering. I know you already did too. These guys worked so hard on this product.
It seemed like it never would end for them.
It really did. And there were just things like you and I or whoever would be like, but what about, and when I see this product and now we're at launch date, I always think things can be better, but I'm just so happy with where this product is.
I agree 100%. And, that's one of the things too, that when you're passionate reef keepers in this business, right, and you're actually using the product, it gives you this level of elation that it's hard to explain to some of the other colleagues of ours. I won't name names. Some of them don't run reef tanks like you and I do.
Right, exactly.
And so when we're running this product, we're just like, oh my God, this is great. We've got to be able to get this out to people. We've got to get this out to people.
Right.
But we're there. We're there now. People are going to have it. It's like, whew. We don't have that question that we get.
Just the entire attitude this week at Neptune Systems too has been much lighter. I think we all feel that we've just been carrying around, we've been zombies muttering about the Trident all the time, and it just feels really good at this point to give it to you guys. We're really excited about the product.
Well, and it's just like, when's Trident coming out? When's Trident coming out? When's Trident coming out? Yeah. It's just like, soon, very soon, very soon.
So, I can hardly stay in my chair right now. I'm so excited.
I know.
It's really weird. But anyways, enough about...
but it's fine. We've got all the time in the world, right? We got an hour here. We got the 25 minutes more to go. Okay. And this is the casual part of this. And, before everybody was getting on our case because they're like, oh, yeah, you guys have something we can't get. Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah, tease us, right? But now we feel much better because at least, users are start getting these things. And it's not like, yeah, you guys should see my Trident.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of that, and I think just the singular focus. And, we weren't kidding when we were getting on these live streams every week. The singular focus is the Trident. Guys, I'm tired of getting the Trident ready for you. I'm ready to give it to you.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And then seeing, like, oh my gosh, we know what the date is, and we know what date this is going to happen on. And then you're just like, you're telling people, wow, we don't know, very soon. But we're here, all right, so now I've kind of went through all the hardware and reasons to have the product and everything else. And now it's like, okay, what is the customer going to get? So, the first thing I'd like you to show us, let me just dig into there with our demo section here. Okay, look at that. Yep. It's working, right?
Are we in the right spots?
I don't know, I feel I think I'm good.
Okay.
So we'll go right into our demo, and I think, the first thing to do is just kind of show people once they've got it set up and it's running, after it's running, this is what you're going to get to enjoy. This is how it's going to work.
So the everyday experience.
Everyday experience.
Okay.
Let's see that first.
Let's get that set up. So I have my dashboard here, and my Trident tile is right there in the top left. Okay, and what you're going to see, at any point that you come to your Apex Fusion dashboard, you are going to see your last test results. Okay, so right now my alkalinity is about 7.6, my calcium is about 433, and my magnesium is 1557. Okay. My magnesium is pretty high right now. It's because of the salt I use. They use really high magnesium in there, and I use a 2-part solution that has the magnesium built into it. So I'm constantly adding a little bit there.
Hey, let's give a plug to him, because I like that gentleman.
I really like that gentleman. Just such a nice guy. So I used Sea Balance by Julian Sprung, Two Little Fishies. And what's nice about Sea Balance is I have just a 2-part solution, and it takes care of everything that I need.
Yeah.
It has potassium in there. It has some other trace elements in there, and then of course I got some macro power as well. So, anyways, so that's the level, and then. So there are a few Apex Fusion tiles that allow you to get more information.
Like the 832.
Right. But, you still can't do everything from the tile.
Okay.
Maybe you have outlet tiles and things like that. And, there's other things on your dashboard.
So you can't turn on and off an outlet inside an 832
One
tile.
of the cool things about the Trident, everything you need to interact with the Trident, to get information from the Trident, is right in that tile. And all you got to do is click on it. Right?
Okay.
So, I clicked on it, and right away I can get spike line graphs of where things are. Okay?
Right.
It doesn't give you a scale to give you an idea of where my alkalinity's been in the last 7 days. I've been between 7.5 and 7 and 7.8. Right?
Okay.
That big jump was right when I did a water change.
Yeah, you and I both kind of stick in the 7 to 8 ranges.
Yeah,
8.5.
it just works for me. I'm getting great growth. I am pushing up a little bit based on some conversations I've recently had with some people. But, you can see basically it's been very stable. It may look like, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. But, we're looking at plus or minus 20 in magnesium, plus or minus 20 in calcium, and plus or minus 0.4.
Yeah, it's good to understand that these graphs are all relative.
Right.
So, when you see, for instance, on your magnesium, there it looks like it's dropping off. That could be just dropping off, 5 or 10 ppm.
Exactly. It's not a significant.
It's all relative,
jump.
and it's 1 day, right? Like all these graphs are always 1 day, right?
Right. Exactly. And that's 7 days right there, Terrence. So 7 days on the spike line graph.
So that's different from the pH graph, right?
Exactly. The pH graph, you're just getting a 24-hour picture.
I've been corrected.
So I'll do that sometime. So on the details, I'm not going to do it right now, but I can click on.
I'm looking at this camera. It's somehow we need to put something up here.
Right. That one's not working.
No. This is the camera at this time.
And now when I talk to you, I actually have to look away from you.
Yes.
Anyways, and I can click on any of these spike line graphs and hone in, and we'll do that a little bit later.
Okay.
But all I got to do again is click it again, and I can immediately see where my reagents are. Okay.
Now there's no sensors in those bottles.
No.
Just so you guys know, there's no sensors in the bottles. It knows how much reagent it's used.
So all the reagent bottles are standard size.
Okay.
Okay. They have the same amount of liquid in them all the time. And the Trident, being the precise device that it is, knows exactly how many milliliters of liquid it uses for each titration.
And it just subtracts it out.
Exactly. So that's displayed in a percentage. So right now, if you're one of those people with, when they see their battery get below 30%, they freak out. This is the point where you could order more reagents from Neptune Systems at neptunesystems.com/reagents. You just go there and get some more.
That's reagents plural?
Reagents, yes, with an S.
Make sure.
Yes. Because it's more than one reagent that you're purchasing. I thought about everything, Terrence. So I click it again, and now, just in case if you don't work well with percentages, you can also just see how many tests are still available based on the amount of reagent that is left. So right now, if I were to do the combined test of alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, my limiting factor is 39.
Okay.
Okay. So I have 39 combined tests remaining right now. The waste size, which the task allows you to define that.
So let me stop. So when you start out,
Mm-hmm.
each one of these bottles, they basically are good, or the set of bottles, I should say, is good for 120 tests, basically.
Yeah.
So when you reset it, it went to 121. I guess we gave a bonus one or something like that. But that's how it works out. That's how you get to 30 days, right?
Yes.
And you run out of one of them, and then you go to 60 days, and you run out of the other two.
Yeah, so just to kind of rephrase that, so the reagent A bottle needs to be replaced.
And they're not alkalinity, calcium, and magnesium, just so you guys know.
Yes. So the reagent A bottle, right, that needs to be replaced once every month at the stated 4 times alkalinity test per day, or calcium +2 calcium magnesium. The B and C reagent need to be replaced out every 2 months. So and so you basically, one has to go every one. You get the idea.
Okay.
That's how we get a 2-month reagent kit. In terms of how that works.
Okay, so this is where you can check
2 bottles of reagents. Blah 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 blah. The waste container right there allows you to see how full your waste container is, you will define the size of that waste container.
Okay.
You can go up to 5 liters, I believe. I think the least we allow is 500 milliliters. Or, you know, if your Trident is near a drain, right?
Oh, we didn't touch on this, right?
Right. So if the Trident is near a drain, oh, how far? So if the Trident is near a drain, you can place that waste line directly into the drain, and that waste container will always be 0%. Okay. The Trident will automatically turn off if the waste container is full. You know, so we don't want to overfill that waste container and put water all over the ground.
So the amount of I guess fluid that's created, right, as waste, what is that?
So basically per test, right, we're going to use about 7 milliliters of tank water.
And a little bit of reagent.
And a little bit of reagent. That includes rinsing, that includes filling, that includes rinsing after the test, all these sort of different things.
Okay.
A lot is going on. You know, when the Trident is operating, it sounds like R2-D2 a little bit. You know, just a lot of whirls and weeps and chirps. They're
you can
very quiet.
Hear it,
especially if you're sitting in your stand, you're not going to hear it.
Right.
You know, I think you said in some of your literature, it kind of reminds you that it's just doing its thing.
Right.
You know, it does make you feel good.
Beep.
Yep. And the amount of waste is roughly 10 milliliters per test.
So if I had a 2-liter bottle, you know, that I use as my waste container, like a 2-liter soda bottle, how long would that take to fill up?
I think
again, 4 times a day testing.
I think about 2 months. You know, so you got to replace that reagent container at the same time you replace all your reagents.
Okay.
Basically, anytime we say you change your reagents, we recommend that you just empty your waste.
Okay,
know?
Makes sense.
So that's kind of the rule of thumb there.
Hey, it's a question. We're going to do this interactively because this is a good question I just saw come up. Somebody out there, who was it? Drama D asked, how will this affect salinity over time? It is so small amount for most aquariums. Again, if you've got a 10-gallon nano, it might be something different. But if you run a skimmer, you're probably pulling out this much water out of your skimmer or some other way you're affecting your salinity. The people who have been running this in NSI have not seen a significant salinity change, right?
Right. So where I'll go, what I also want to add there, we had a 12-gallon nano tank that was even testing more than the 4 times a day.
Really cool tank.
It's a really cool tank, really cool guy, and he saw no impact on his salinity, more or less. He does do water changes and things like that pretty frequently in that nano tank, which probably is a good thing to do. It's a good way to keep a nano tank, but negligible effect on salinity.
Okay.
So, especially compared to what some other tests do.
Right.
So. Anyways, so that's the waste container. That's the Trident tile. One of the other really cool things about this tile, there's this gear right where it says idle right now. The Trident is not testing, so it's idle. There's this gear I can click on, and that gear I can immediately decide if I want to run a combined test. Okay. If I want to run an alkalinity only test.
So this is very different from other tiles in that
there are
things to do.
There's no additional tiles here, right? There's no outlet tile for the Trident or anything like that. I can run tests in there. I can configure a schedule. So the default is 4 times a day. Okay. I have mine 8 times a day right now, just because it's
because maybe you have an infinite supply of reagent out back.
No comment. And you can go up to 24 times a day. I do it.
What I find out ends up happening, though, is it's not so much. I leave mine. I only run 4 tests.
You do 4, right?
I'm a 4 tester. So, but what is really cool is that at a moment's notice, you just hit that manual test because you're impatient. You're like, oh man, my next one's not going to come until 3 hours from now, and you're like, you know what? I want to know my alkalinity right now.
Yeah, exactly.
This moment.
Exactly. And so that's how you schedule tests with the Trident. So if you don't like the 4 times a day, you can move up. Now, big thing people want to know.
Another one coming up, because we're interactive here. Is this only on Fusion? So Matt Leonard said, is it also available in local?
Great question. I'm so proud of engineering. Everything that I'm showing you right now, with the exception of tasks, which we'll go into a little bit, everything that I'm showing you right now is local and on Apex Fusion.
Yep.
So anyhow, that's how that works. A lot of people ask, can you change the start time? Can you change the time these run? No. Right now, this is the frequency, and these are the times that it's going to run.
Yeah, let's not get into the reasoning behind it, but just trust us. There's a reason behind it, and this is how it needs to be.
Yes. So thank you, Karens. And I mean, that's your Trident tile, more or less.
No, it's very cool. Very cool. How about, okay, why don't we do this? Why don't you show us just real quickly, the setup again. Everything's easy now. Everything is in tasks.
Okay, so when you get the Trident,
okay,
what's the first thing you're going to do when you get it?
Well, I'm going to get the little card, and that little card, I don't have a graphic to show everybody, but it's got a big red thing on it that says, don't plug it in.
But you've already unplugged it in.
Probably,
yes.
because I'm male.
Okay. So, as counterintuitive as it may be, once you get the Trident, do not plug it in. Okay? You can, and the Trident's just going to take longer to set up as a result of that.
Okay.
Okay? So don't plug it in. We have a method. We have a madness. Okay? And what you do is you click on this task icon, which is this one right here. Okay? And you click on that task icon. Can I make it go away? Okay, good. And then you come here to Trident initial setup.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have a bunch of tasks that are
right.
related to the Trident.
I'll go over all these tasks in
Good.
just a little bit, Terrence. But you select that, and again, just in case you have, just go
This
ahead
should
and
be pretty
disconnect
familiar
it.
to people because a lot of devices that you buy, a lot of electronics that you buy, it's like the first thing it says, don't plug this in,
Right.
go download the app, go and install
And
this.
there's a lot of reasons for that, mostly because when you're hooking up the Trident, you need a little bit of space. And if you already have it all tucked in and plugged in, it's just going to be harder to set up.
Okay.
Click next, and
this is the really cool part, okay? This is what's completely different, and kudos to you for putting this together. Inside the Apex Fusion, now the setup is all kind of managed within there. You're not reading a separate thing. You're not going to a separate website. You're not reading printed instructions. Some products you get nowadays, they come with, a quick start guide that's got like, 18 pages in a quick start guide. This is all happens right inside Apex Fusion.
Exactly. And so you run through these tests, Terrence. There are these videos. You get to spend about 7.5 minutes with me going through those videos and everything like that.
Trust me, I helped him keep it as tight as possible.
Yes. Thank you for all your help, Terrence. It was very appreciated. And and after you're done with that, we'll ask a few more questions, like how big is your waste container, and you're pretty much done at that point.
Okay.
And you get
So
the
we don't need to go
set
through
up.
all of that right now
No,
because
no.
I don't think you guys want to watch all of Paul's videos right now.
I don't want to
But they're
either.
out there in the software, and so anybody could actually run this even if you don't have a Trident and go
You
through
can watch
those
the videos, yeah, absolutely.
So-
I think hopefully you'll appreciate just how simple it is to set up, and then from there you can.
So how long do you think most people will take to set this up to where they can, the point at which they open the box until Trident starts doing its tests?
Good question. So in general, you have 7.5 minutes of video. The directions that I'm going through, aren't that detailed. I think you'll honestly be able to set this up in about 15 minutes. Maybe if you're really slow and you want to watch my videos multiple times, you're at a 20-minute point.
Okay.
So.
So now once I get it going, because we haven't talked about this, so once I get it going and it's installed, I can basically initiate a manual test right away if I want to.
Exactly.
I don't have to wait for the schedule to happen.
So once the Trident turns orange, okay, the Trident is idle when it is orange. It has a Neptune Systems logo N on it.
Okay.
Once that turns orange or it says idle on the dashboard like mine was just a little bit ago, I can initiate a test right then and there. If it's still blue or it says testing, you can initiate a test. It's not going to do anything.
So, okay, so I initiate a test. Let's say I initiate only an alkalinity test. How long is it going to take for the Trident to finish that test?
On average, it'll take about 7 minutes per titration.
Okay.
So if we're doing an alkalinity test, it'll be 7 minutes. If you're doing the whole gambit, it's going to be about 21 minutes.
Okay, so that's 21 minutes, and I don't think I can do that manually. I don't think I could do 3 test kits, pull out the stuff, get the sample water myself,
yeah,
and do that with test kits in 21 minutes.
Even as I've been going back and checking with test kits where my Trident is, and just being like, the Trident, right? Even I've been going back and forth with that, I always have to pull out the directions. Like I will never remember when to add something or how much or the spoonful. You know
what's crazy? I just thought of this.
What?
Since I've been running the Trident, I barely test other things because I hate testing so much now.
Yeah,
it's made me so spoiled
right.
that I haven't tested phosphate or nitrate in my tank. It's got to be 3 or 4 months now. because I see those test kits and I'm like, oh,
right.
You know, it's just funny.
So that's kind of how that works. You know, a lot of people, you know, the other basic, I'll go through some of the other basic things you're going to do with the Trident.
Let's answer another couple questions.
Okay,
because they're coming up, because I want to keep this interactive.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one says, is a Trident shipped with preset times to test? We touched on that a little bit. Why don't you go back and just show that real quick to people one more time, because we went over it kind of fast.
Actually, I'm just going to do it from right here.
Here we go. Oh, there's a task that helps you do it too. So you can actually walk right through that task.
So again, you can do it 6 times a day. That would be 3 alkalinity tests and 3 combined tests, so alkalinity, calcium, magnesium.
So 6 alkalinity, 3 calcium, 3
yeah,
magnesium.
sorry, I didn't think about that right. And then you can do 8, 12, or 24. And we say the times that each of those are going to happen. And guys, you know, you may say, well, I don't care what my alkalinity is at midnight.
Right.
You know, trust me, you don't know that you care yet. You know, the most important thing in any reef is to make sure that it remains very consistent.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're getting all these swings all over the day, pH swings to a certain extent don't matter to a point that they do.
Well, if your alkalinity is fine, your pH swing is going to be fine. And
exactly.
You're going to be okay.
So this whole concept of dosing your alkalinity at night, we'll talk about in a little bit, but you don't necessarily need to do that.
Okay.
Anyways.
One other question I think we touched on a little bit, which is distance and how high above or below the sump can it be?
Great question. So the sample line cannot be cut or extended. I will say it again. The sample line cannot be cut or extended. The sample line is 5 feet long. Okay? What that means is that the Trident needs to be near your aquarium in one way or the other.
Okay.
Whether that be your sump, whether that be your refugium, whether that be your tank, whatever. I don't necessarily recommend putting the Trident sample line above the Trident.
Okay.
In a rare situation that you disconnect the sample line or something like that, it will create a gravity siphon. That's not something that you'd want to have.
Yeah,
happen.
your cat comes up and pulls that tube out or something like that. That's you just want to try to avoid that if possible.
Exactly. So I don't recommend it. I generally, and the video is going to go all through this too, in terms of the do's and don'ts of where to place things. The sample line, it's you don't want to put it in a place of micro bubbles. The Trident is so precise, even a couple micro bubbles getting pulled into the sample is going to throw off the titration, because we think we added, I'm just throwing out a number, 5 milliliters, but we really added 4.95 milliliters. It actually matters, guys.
Right. Yeah, it's small amounts. That's why the tube is so small.
Yes.
That's why, it's the dosing pump is doing, drop sizes that are, maybe 1/5 the size that you can do with your little, little syringe. I got another question here, because we have a doubting Thomas here of somebody, Tom, Reefman 202 says, that graph don't look that stable, LOL. So let's go back and talk about that one that I showed you earlier today. Let's just talk about that, because
you showed me earlier today.
The one you just showed me that had we'll talk about automatic dosing control in a minute, I understand.
Okay.
But
okay, so this was a water change right here, this big jump. Okay.
Right. That's hold on, because this is the coolest thing ever.
Okay.
Okay, you just went right over that. Okay. So when you change your water, guys, I know people try to match their values and whatnot, but how do you really even know? Because you're not testing constantly, right? And so what? You're going to pull out the test kit before, you're going to pull out the test kit after. Maybe it's going up, maybe it's going down. He's got automatic dosing control on, so it actually did it for him. We'll talk about that in a second. But just look at this jump right here, just from him doing the water change. It's amazing what the Trident shows you.
It was a big water change. I'd been out of the office for a couple weeks at the point. That's why things were a little bit low. I just, whatever. But
zoom in right in this section right over here, Paul.
No problem.
Because this is where when people see, I think they see bumps, and they're going to see like huge bumps here when you zoom in, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, look at that. Well, look at the range on those bumps, okay? There's nothing, okay?
So here we can actually show you. So the range is between 7.48.
So Tom, the Reefman 202, that is really stable alkalinity, man. It doesn't get much more stable than that. And the precision on the Trident is really, is really amazing to show that.
Yeah, and guys, while it is an accurate device as well, the precision is what matters. Okay. Can I show you some other task, Terrence?
Let's do
it. Great. So we also have a calibration task. Okay. In the calibration task, we walk through.
Oh, that's right. We spoke about
where,
calibration.
Where where the calibration standard needs to be placed, and all these sort of different things. And the Trident is going to calibrate to the batch of reagents that it currently has.
Okay.
Okay. And it's going to calibrate to your specific setup. What your head height is of your sample line tubing.
That's another thing. It's just I gotta stop because it's just amazing to me when I think about this. We're talking about you have 5 feet of tubing, right? And you got a foot of it in a tank, right? And you move this thing 18 inches this way or that. That actually affects the volume simply because of that little change in head height.
Yes, it does.
That is like amazing to think about, especially because it's a peristaltic pump too, which shouldn't be affected as much by that.
And
so that's why the calibration, helps alleviate that.
And we calibrate these at Neptune Systems.
Correct.
Okay, so these are all calibrated at Neptune Systems and everything like that. But that's calibrated to the conditions of the testing situation of the reagent batch we're using. We don't recommend, and we need to calibrate to your specific setup. So it's going to deliver that precision right on day one. Okay, but to give the accuracy, you need to do the calibration.
Okay.
Okay. The second part of all this is the calibration shouldn't be done day one.
Right.
Okay. Always, whenever you change reagents, whenever you're installing this, whenever you're going to be doing a calibration, give it a day or two before immediately calibrating. It just lets if there's any bubbles that were introduced by changing out the reagent tops or anything like that, it basically kind of mitigates all those sorts of issues.
Okay.
So we don't recommend calibrating after a change with the Trident, a physical change with the Trident, for 2 days. Okay. And the calibration takes some time. It takes about 70 minutes or so. You don't have to stand there with the calibration the whole time. You basically put the sample tubing in this bottle, you say calibrate, you set the timer on your phone, you come back in 70 minutes, an hour or two, you place it back into your aquarium. Okay? And Terrence, I want to stress that as soon as that bottle gets open, right, we say that it's those parameters on the outside of the bottle when you open the bottle.
Right.
Okay? Once you let it sit in air for 6...
Because we fill them like right to the rim, right?
It is a whole procedure in terms of having to prep this, what we have to do to prep this bottling, ways to seal it, all these sorts of different things. So once you open that, it immediately starts to change and interact with the atmosphere, right? And and I can't stress enough that only open it once you're ready to calibrate, and you can't save it and use it maybe 2 or 3 weeks later without some great software adjustments in order to know what the level of decay is, because it traps that atmosphere into the bottle as soon as you recap it again. Even if you were to leave it open, it's going to start changing.
Because it's because it's a CO2, right? It's a CO2 that's in the atmosphere is reacting with the water and changing the alkalinity in the water. Okay.
So and we the calibration standard was a fun thing to figure out, guys. And
the calibration standards that you get, I can tell you right now, because we have a device that's I think it's approaching $10,000 or something.
We do have a very
an
expensive
automatic
tester
titration
here.
device. I think it's from Hawk, but we actually tested a lot of the standards that are out there in the hobby. Even thinking, wow, we could use that maybe we could tell people to use those. Maybe there's different things
we were looking for an easy out.
We were looking for an easy out so we wouldn't have to do the calibration standard ourselves. And what we found is that they were not consistent. The ones that are included with test kits, everything. It's definitely, having our own standard is going to make this as accurate as it possibly can be. It brings up a good point too, that a lot of people, especially even in our NSI group early on, comments that we see of people that aren't running the Trident yet and people who started running it in NSI is, well, it's not matching up with my Salifert, or it's not matching up with my Hannah, or it's not matching up with this. Yeah. And the funny thing that I would tell people is, what's the definition of is because
I've heard that before.
because you're testing, you don't even know if what you're testing, yes, it's very, maybe as consistent and precise as you can do with the Salifert test, but that doesn't make that Salifert test, the way you're using it right then and there, accurate.
Right.
And you don't have a standard that you're testing it against, a known good standard. All you're doing is taking something that could be imprecise or certainly inaccurate, and comparing it to something else, and you're not comparing it to a known standard. So that's why the calibration using the known standard is the only way to go, and you should rely on that.
That's our opinion, and we're sticking to it. But if you honestly believe that you've been using the Salifert kit or whatever kit, and I'm not throwing any shade on any test kits right now. They all, I mean, nothing at all. It's just the level of precision that they offer is not the level of precision that the Trident will offer.
Absolutely.
Right? And but if you believe that your alkalinity is 9.0 and and you're sticking to it, that's fine. You know what? Use your water as the calibration standard, and you say what the values are, and the Trident will calibrate to that. But with that being said, your numbers need to be reasonable reef numbers. Okay, so if you have an alkalinity of 11.5, a calcium of 300, and a magnesium of 1,000, right?
Yeah, those aren't realistic numbers.
We're not going to be able to calibrate to that. But if you have numbers that are 9.0, 425, and 1440, and that's what you think they are.
If you want to, be the source of truth for your reef tank, that those are the numbers that they are, you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Trident will be precise once it's calibrated to those numbers.
Another interesting discussion point too, and I know we're a couple minutes over, but who cares? This is the Trident live stream. I mean, these people are interested. We still have 357 people on this live stream. Okay?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for sticking with us.
Thanks for sticking with us and joining us for this. It's really fun. The other really interesting thing is people, a number of people's like, well, I don't need to test calcium, or I don't need to test magnesium that often, or I don't even need to test it but once a month. Or the thing I like to tell people there is, first of all, you can have equipment that has failure and not know it. You can have air in a line. You can run out of your additive. There's so many things that can happen on your reef. And you may catch it on the next Sunday's, testing, or maybe you don't test for 2 weeks, and now you've got a longer period of time that your reef is going through, this instability, and the other thing too is just I don't want to do the test kits. Yeah. So even if I only needed one, if I thought in my head I only needed one, the tests in the Trident are 9 cents a test. 9 cents.
That's what it comes out to.
9 cents a test. So if I thought to myself I wanted to get and life was good, I would do tests of calcium once a week. Okay, so what? It's going to cost me 50, 60 cents to have that calcium test done for me automatically every day, and I never have to test, hold a test kit.
Exactly. And it's, I don't know if I'll say it, but it's not just one reagent that gives the number. It's the reason why the Trident works the way it does is because all the reagents work together. Okay? And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So us just taking out some of the reagents, right?
Yeah, it won't work.
We don't have a product
that
delivers the level of precision that we have now.
Even if it did, I'm telling you, after you run the Trident, it's hard to see right now. Okay? It's hard to see right now. I keep looking at the wrong camera.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to see right now because you're not running a Trident, but when you're getting those results every day and you're seeing your reef and you're seeing the stability in your reef, or you see something happen, because the other thing that can happen over time is these are supposed to be balanced additives, and you're going to hear people tell you, you don't need to measure calcium, just put it as a fraction, this number multiply times your alkalinity and add that much and whatnot. And yeah, that will work when things are perfect. But when things aren't perfect, things get out of whack in your tank, and you're not going to see that possibly because you're not going to test every week because it's a pain. Yeah. Just like me, I haven't tested in 3. So having this happen for you automatically and available to you, it's a world of difference, guys.
So
where do we go from here?
Yeah, it's.
Let's talk quickly about Shutdown and the Shutdown task, because we haven't hit that.
I'm just hearing everything. It's just this is what we've been working for, and it just feels good. So the final thing I want to talk about, and it's a really important task. Okay, it's a super important task, is the Trident Shutdown. Okay, and so what does that mean? If I say Trident Shutdown to you, Terrence, what are you thinking?
I'm taking my reef down because I'm moving to a bigger tank, and I'm going to have my reef down for like a week.
Right. Okay, so that you kind of got it. Okay, so the Trident needs to run, basically a test every 24 hours.
Okay.
Okay. As soon as it doesn't run a test in 24 hours, you're going to get an alert. Okay, you can manually turn the Trident off because you're out of reagents. You're changing
something
things.
could normally happen that you maybe forgot to change your reagents or something like that.
You don't want to test. I don't know. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, you'll get an alert that says, hey, you haven't tested in 24 hours. Do you want to run a test? Yada yada yada. But at the point we start getting to the 72-hour point, the point we start getting to the 96-hour point, the Trident needs to be taken out of service. Okay, and the way that we do that is just by removing the sample line from the aquarium. So it's now pulling air. Okay, and we run this shutdown procedure. Okay, what this allows for is it clears the Trident of all liquids, right? So we don't have reagent staying in lines, we don't have old water staying in lines.
Yeah, because we get water, this is salt water, right? So once it evaporates, it creates crystals, and these tubes are really, really tiny.
Yeah, and now, I'm not saying, okay, you went for a week and you forgot to fill reagent, and so now you got to turn the Trident off while you're on vacation.
No, of course not.
You're not you likely won't have any issues. Now if you get to the 4-month point or the 4-week point and you're still letting that Trident sit, you're probably going to have some problems, and you're going to be in touch with Neptune support.
Or if your sample tube was to come out of your sump for a week or a week and a half or something like that.
Yes.
But the rule of thumb is 72 hours.
Right.
Okay.
And if something does get clogged, it's not a big deal. If it's in the sample line, we have sample line replacements. It's really easy to push sediment out of the sample lines. It's really pliable, right? So it can kink easy. Don't let it kink. But but you can push out any particulate matter that gets in there.
Okay.
And we have replacement sample line that'll be available on our web store. I think it's like $4.95, so it's not going to break the bank or anything like that. The waistline, not as big an issue, but again, you don't want that waistline's almost always empty when the Trident is idle. But if you were just to unplug it while the Trident was draining or something like that, and you have water just staying in the waistline, that would also cause a problem. Okay. So, moral of the conversation here is run the shutdown procedure.
So we have a special task for this, I assume.
Yes, and that's called Trident Shutdown. Okay, just please run that task. If the Trident's going to be taken out of service, don't freak out if it's been more than 72 hours and it says you need to do blah 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 blah. Just run it as soon as you can.
Okay.
So,
excellent.
And that's so. We wanted to get to Trident controlled dosing. Do we have time?
We didn't even get that yet. What have you been waiting for?
Okay.
We have time. We're going there. It's 6:08.
I don't care. Wait. You guys want? So we're at 6:08. We're 8 minutes over. But you want me to explain Trident controlled dosing, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think they do. I think they absolutely do.
Okay.
And we got to go to 6:15. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
So Trident controlled dosing is really easy to set up.
Okay.
We have a task for it. Big surprise. And in that task, the first step is you kind of need to know how many milliliters of additive need to be added to generally maintain the level that you're looking for.
So the idea, obviously, here is you're running your tank. You've got to use the Trident for a week or so. You get your dosing going, get your Trident to be pretty stable on your own first, right? With a certain amount of dosing.
Yes.
Once you've done that, then you can run this task.
Exactly. And we have a little kind of thing at the beginning, hey, don't run this right when you set the Trident up. Let it get some numbers first. And you as the aquarist must understand about how much additive you need. Now, do you need to know if you need to have 80 milliliters versus 90 milliliters? No. Right? That's where the Trident's going to help out. But if you know you need about 85 milliliters, that's good enough for me. Okay. If you don't know and you're just completely in the dark on it, you got to work that out on your own.
Yeah.
So there's a little disclaimer, and you say I confirm. Okay. Hit next. You choose the device that you want to parameter you want to control your dose pump to. In this situation, I'm going to select my alkalinity. I then select the pump.
So that's the alkalinity on the Trident is what's going to be used as the controlling piece of data.
And then I choose the pump that I want to use. So I'm going to use that pump that I already have labeled dose alk. Okay, I'm going to name
that's
it dose alk.
That's the one dosing alkalinity.
Okay,
good.
The level that I want to maintain, and Terrence and I talked about it, we generally find that we like keeping a little bit lower alkalinity. So we say I want to maintain a level of 8.0. Okay. And I'll get into a little bit more of that in just a second. Okay. And then the second thing is you need to put the amount of additive that you typically need. For me, that's about 30 milliliters.
So this is what you already found out over a few days of normally going through this and of dosing your tank with the dose.
And I should comment here, Terrence, that the two most important factors here is if your alkalinity is at 6.5 and you want to maintain an alkalinity of 9. Trident controlled dosing is not for you yet.
Right. It's got to be your current level and your target level at this moment need to be pretty close together.
Now you can eke it up, right?
Sure.
So you say, I want to get to 7, then you want to get to 7.5.
A rule of thumb is maybe, what, a half a DKH or something like that?
Yes, so basically it needs to be within about half a DKH of what you're trying to control to.
Okay.
Good way to put it, Terrence. And then one thing that we've found as we've been monitoring alkalinity in non-Trident controlled dose situations is, a classic idea is, you dose your alkalinity at night. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, of course.
Because you want to keep your pH up at night,
yeah.
right?
Sanjay just told me that.
Ding, ding.
Name drop.
But in our experience, that's not what we've been seeing.
Okay.
We've been seeing a much higher alkalinity consumption during the daylight hours of the tank. So when you have high rates of calcification, you have a fully thriving reef tank, you have coralline that you're constantly having to scrape off the glass, that's called what you call high rates of calcification. Okay. And so we have an option to select to dose more during the day and do less at night. Almost 75% of the additive that you select.
75%?
Yeah, we're going to dose during the day and do the other 25% during lights off. Okay?
Wow.
So you choose that option, yes or no, and then we just give you kind of a synopsis.
So how does it know what night is?
So this is cool. I'm really proud of our engineers. They looked at your lights, right? So I run radions, and because I run radions, they know when my radions turn on and off.
That is so cool.
Bingo.
That is so cool.
All right. Now the second part of this is, so how is this not going to overdose my tank?
Yeah,
right?
This is the biggest concern, right? This is what we see from, or we heard from people all the time. There's two camps that basically came out. One is, this is amazing, I'll never have to touch this again, and I don't have to test, and I don't have to worry about how much to dose. And there was the other side, like, no way in the world am I going to let this thing control my dosing. It's going to completely blow my tank up.
Yes.
So
let's talk about, so my opinion is, if you trust, the dose, or you trust any dosing pump to deliver 30 milliliters a day, 100 milliliters a day, then there's no reason why Trident controlled dosing wouldn't be just as safe.
But it only works with the dose.
It only works with the Neptune Systems dose.
We don't want to confuse anybody.
Yeah. Anyways, if you want to use a non-Neptune Systems on-off dose, welcome to master level programming.
Yeah, and you don't get the safety and security.
You don't get the safety factor either. With that being said, the way that we just set it up, okay, we're going to control basically between 7.6 and 8.4.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that the Trident's going to let my alkalinity swing from 7.6 to 8.4.
Okay.
These are the out of bound ranges.
Okay,
right?
I get it.
So if it ever gets lower than 7.6 or higher than 8.4, okay, it's Trident controlled dosing will stop, and it's going to go back to the normal.
But really,
dose
all
amount.
I care about, Paul, is setting that number, knowing it's going to be safe, okay, and knowing that it's going to add or subtract what it can to my tank, and not add or subtract too much or get on a runaway situation, right?
Right, and then so we summarize that for you there, and then we let you know what the minimum amount during the night's going to be, what the maximum amount during the day is going to be, and we take care of it from there.
Now there's a lot of tech that's behind this, and it's kind of it's certainly hard for me to explain, and if you heard any of our engineers explain it, you probably wouldn't understand either.
Yeah.
And I actually had Sanjay, texting Sanjay the other day, who's running the Trident, by the way, and was doing automatic dosing control with the Trident the other day because his calcium reactor was down. And he was asking me how to do it, and he kept trying to needle me and say, well, how is it working? What's it going to do? What's it going to do here? And I said, just trust it and see what happens, because there's an algorithm to it. And I know you have some analogy that you like to give that I think makes it crystal clear. So
right.
What's that?
So I've used this analogy in NSI to help explain it, and just in generally talking with people, and I feel that this does work. And so essentially, imagine that you're driving a car. You want to maintain a speed limit of 65 miles per hour. Okay, you're going maybe 35 miles per hour. What do you do when you're going 35 miles per hour?
I want to get to 80, so I slammed that accelerator down.
Right, so you push the accelerator down pretty hard. You step on the gas to get up to the speed limit that you're looking to get to.
Yep.
Okay? This is the same thing the Trident's going to do. So in my situation here, when it's hovering towards 7.6, okay, that's the outside bound, it's going to be putting the maximum amount of additive that we've allowed it to.
But it's probably never going to get that low, right?
It's probably not, right? But for me right now, I'm working my way up.
No, I get it.
Right? But
so in the beginning, it's going to add a lot.
Yeah. And so So it's basically pushing on the gas,
Got
right?
it.
It's going to be adding the most out of it.
Yep.
Now, when I set 8.0, so when I'm now at 7.9 and you're going 60 miles per hour, okay, and you need to get up to 65, do you press on the gas really hard
No, you just
still?
feather it, right? You just feather that accelerator a
So
little
it's
bit.
just going to push on the gas a little bit more, and I said to do 30 milliliters a day, so it's going to do like 32 milliliters a day at that point, just to help push it up a little bit more.
And that's so you don't like pass by it, right?
Exactly.
And then have to let off the gas.
And then when it's going too fast, when it's above the level, right? When you're really far above the level and you're at 8.4, right? It's going to be pushing on the brakes pretty hard.
Yeah, coasting down like the grapevine.
It wants to bring it down, right? And then when
doing
you're
85, I want to be at 75. I see the CHP, and I'm like, slam on those brakes to get it down.
You're getting it, Terrence.
Got
it. That's the analogy. I hope that helps, for making that clear and things like that.
It's super safe though, and this is it's one of these things where I think once more people start running this, they'll understand exactly how it works. Pull up one last graph here on that that we did, that you can actually see it in action. On Paul's tank.
While I'm pulling that up, you should talk about calcium reactors.
Oh yes, and calcium reactors, people that run calcium reactors, some of our NSI people are already doing this. Two things around calcium reactors. You can use the data to help program your calcium reactor. It is a more advanced kind of thing, but it is really cool to do it. The second thing is if you run a calcium reactor, as your tank is using more and more calcium carbonate, right? You don't want to have to be tweaking your calcium reactor, say, every 3 days or every 4 days. So if you use a dose along with your calcium reactor, what you can do is actually have your dose fine-tuning that last mile, right? And then you only have to adjust your calcium reactor maybe every month, right? Because you're getting the two-part from the dose to get that last mile to keep your tank really stable. And it's really nice to have anyway, two-part on hand and ready to go in your tank if you're running a calcium reactor on a very, SPS-rich reef. Because if you go away on vacation or something and you run out of CO2, it's nice to have that dose on there anyway. And if you have the Trident and you've lost CO2, well, now you can even ump the baseline up to the level you need, and you can just have a peaceful vacation.
Exactly. Basically, let the calcium reactor do 90% of the work.
Yep.
Let a dose-controlled Trident do the other extra 10%.
Yep.
When it needs more, it'll do more. When it needs less, it'll do less.
Yep.
And it's been working with great results for a lot of our
Yep.
NSI members. So let me.
This is a great graph, by the way. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna show this graph. We're gonna answer a couple of questions, and we're gonna bug out because we're already way over time.
Yeah.
But this graph really shows the automatic dosing control in an awesome way. So explain it to us, Paul.
So what you see here is, and I really want to kind of stress, what's happened in the last couple days. Since the water change and things like that, you can see when my levels are starting to get a little bit low, right? You can see actually the frequency of dosing increases. That's actually my daylight hours. Okay, so I do more dosing in my day. It's why it's higher then, right? And then if you come to one of these lower parts, this is during the night, right? And you can see my dosing is down, but my alkalinity still even goes up a little bit during that time, right? Because again, my corals are not consuming the reagent that I'm putting into it, right? So just even looking at this graph, I see that I need to probably up my dosing level even a little bit more.
But what I want to, but see, we're stressing here about look at the differences on that chart, right? Your low range is like 7.6,
yeah,
and your high is 7.68. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
That is a 0.08 swing.
Yes.
And we're like, oh yeah, that's what the automatic dosing control does. So
and you can see my control limits there, right? As it gets closer down to the control level, it goes up a little bit more. When it's going higher, it goes a little bit less.
The coolest stuff
It's the frequency and the interval. There's a lot of little things on this too that we probably don't have time to go into in terms of how you can schedule these.
We just got a couple more questions here, and we're gonna close it down. Thank you, Paul, for showing me all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now let's answer their questions. We're gonna go back to our regularly
scheduled program.
Our large size again. No offense, Paul. No offense to me either. I'm a little chubby too, so it's okay, buddy.
Hey,
love you.
This camera view shows my good side.
But let's get some questions. So somebody said, can I have alarms, min-max alarms for pH and ORP?
Of course. So the actual Trident controlled dosing task does that automatically. It takes your control limits and makes those the alarms. You can set up alerts for your Trident, right? So if the Trident waste container is full, reagents are full, get a text message, no problem. Everything that you know about your other Apex equipment, the Trident works very similar to that. Okay.
Oh, here's a question from Matt Leonard, and I'm gonna touch on one thing before we answer his question.
Very good question. That's what I wanted to go into a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll let you answer that part of it. I'm going to first talk about. So one of the questions people have is there are systems like the Trident system and others that dose 4 parts, okay, and they're all in complete ratio, and so people want to control the dosing of all of those parts. And they want to know how the Trident is going to do it. The recommendation is that you can actually set the dosing amounts for your calcium, your magnesium, part 2, part 3, part 4, or I should say part 1, part 2, and part 3, part 1 and part 2 off of part 3 and part 3A and 3B.
Right,
I'm sorry,
exactly.
I'm messing this all up, but on the Trident it's 1, 2, 3A, 3B. And so in the automatic dosing control, you can do that, right?
Yes. So in the automatic dosing control, right, we recommend that if you have, reagents that cannot be added at the same time,
okay,
right, basically just to offset those a little bit. Essentially, I won't say it won't ever happen, but it won't. The likelihood,
it'll lessen the
likelihood of them going at the same time. And guys, this is drops.
Yeah.
Like we're literally doing drops most of the time.
My answer to this is take your 3A and 3B and dose it in a different area of your tank than your 1 and your 2, and you're going to be. It's a much simpler, all the way around.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's another question here. John Gordon. Do we know who John Gordon is?
Terra Reef.
Terra Reef. Yes. How big of a refugium do you guys run, and what macroalgae species? Has nothing to do with Trident, John.
You're really missing the focus of this episode. Terrence's refugium is quite large.
Yes.
I don't run one. Run one, and everything's going great. I have a 34-gallon cube. Terrence, one thing I do want to check on, a lot of people are just, I think we should review again how the Trident's going to be available for sale right now.
I think it's a good idea. Let's close on that. Let's close on that. So, midnight tonight, Pacific Daylight Time, you will be able
to... That's 1 a.m. Mountain, 2 a.m. Central, 3 a.m. Eastern.
Correct.
Okay.
So it will be available in all the online stores as well as any local fish store that wants to be open and sell it at that particular time. It's entirely up to them. The price will be $599.95. We said it'd be between $500 and $600.
It's less
we
than
met
$600.
that commitment. And the reagent can be purchased at this point through us at neptunesystems.com/reagents. The price is $44.95 with $2.95 for the basic shipping on that. What else did I miss, Paul?
I think a lot of people are asking, will they be able to pre-order it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like that.
There will not be pre-orders. What we wanted to do is kind of give everybody a fair chance to get in there and and get the product. We are going to be rolling this out in kind of an even Steven way over the coming weeks. So you will see inventory come and go at all of these places.
Yes. So you'll get a notification that it's back in stock. You'll be able to buy it. There won't be a pre-order list or anything like that.
Yeah, there won't be a way to order it. If a store wants to create their own little list of who they want to call, that's obviously up to them.
Yep.
But they're not going to take payment. They're not going to take prepayment or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's, and
yes, a full kit of reagents is included with the Trident. We say 1 month on the box. It's closer to 2 months than 1 month, but it may not be a complete 2 months.
It'll be very close to 2 months in my opinion, but we didn't feel that we could say 2 months. The 2-month reagent kit will almost always last you 2 months. Again, if you're testing 24 times a day, it's going to last you about a week and a half.
Yes, and if you run out of reagent, Juan Manuel Sanchez Cuellar, he said, how long can you be without reagent in case of a shortage? If for some reason you had to take the Trident offline, you'd run that shutdown test.
Yes, so you're out of reagent, no problem. You basically would just take the Trident offline. What happens to my dose during that time? It's going to go back to the normal dosing amount, right? So if you see that, if you look at, hey, the last 3 days, I've been dosing 33 milliliters a day on average, you should probably change your normal dosing amount
from the 30 up to 33.
To 33 milliliters.
Okay, I think we've pretty much hit on it all. One last...
oh my gosh, man.
One last slug, buddy. I'm like halfway down. I've got so much energy from this thing. Yeah, it's just so good.
It's a little sugary.
Hey, I'm so happy this is out there, guys. Thank you for coming to another episode of Let's Talk Reef, the Trident edition. Still have over 300 people watching here. Hope you guys come back in 2 weeks from today. We'll have another episode. We'll actually be able to talk to people, hopefully, that already have a Trident.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And have questions for us. That'll be awesome. Last, I haven't even discussed it. If you buy a Trident in the first few hundred, I don't know how many hundred, you will get one of these cool stickers that say, I don't have it over here, but that say, believe.
Yes.
So believe the Trident is real. It is here. It is available tonight at midnight. And that's it.
Yeah.
Enjoy those fish, guys.
Good luck getting your Tridents tonight.
Yeah, we're out of here.
Yep.